Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, Erica, why don't you go ahead and take it away? I'm going to share my screen in just 1 minute here.
Yep. Um, Hello, everyone. I'm excited to have you here with us today. Obviously we are Storytell, to the co-founders. I'm the chief customer officer, but my background is as a writer and plenty of my own writing and also writing content largely for tech startups. And I've really moved from anti-technology and AI to clearly pro and starting this company and have seen the power of AI in really understanding voice and be able to bring that voice to life because all content has to be in a particular voice, in the voice of the company, in the voice of the person you're ghostwriting for, etc. And so that's we really want to share that solution with you. And in a second here, we will dive into the pain of content creation as well to start in that problem space. But that's just a little bit about me and where I'm coming from, with a literary background, and also lots of content creation. And I really divide the world. I don't see all written material as content. Some of it is more crafted and artistic, and actually AI can help with that too, or can like help you understand your own body of work. But obviously, we're really focused on use cases, for your work, less so than personal style. So Giorgio, how soon do we want to get started and dive in?
I would say let's jump into the webinar at 10:05. And between now and then, Erica, if there's a few questions you'd like to ask attendees, you're muted by default. We'll be unmuting you for Q&A, but you should be able to chat. And so feel free to ask a couple questions and we can get people responding on chat to start.
Yeah, that sounds great. And this is our first webinar, so I'm just figuring out being able to actually see the chat, but just curious where everyone is joining us from and what's the number one thing that you would like to get out of this webinar, or also potential future webinars? Like, what's your number one? Okay, great. I'm seeing says, thank you, Sarah, and great to have you here. Sarah and I got our master's in writing together. So Sarah's letting us know that chat is turned off.
Okay, well that is thank you, Sarah, for doing that. And we're gonna have to figure out how to fix that. So I will work on that in just a minute here. But we can see your Q&A. So if you want to just answer for now in Q&A as we learn this fancy Zoom system, Erica can share what we're getting here.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll just, as we're waiting for, it says chat is disabled. Okay, Sarah, thank you for problem solving with us. And yeah, I'm sure Giorgio is having a look right now. And cool. Jason, yeah, the Storytell have a custom set of prompts or an approach to prompting. So we do have a very powerful prompt around voice docs and how to activate, like one, create a voice doc and then put it into use. And we will share that with you all today.
And here's what I would recommend, Erica. I just made it so that anybody can ask and see questions and answers. So maybe we just start with that for today, and we'll make sure that for our second ever webinar, we get chat working. But I'd propose that we go ahead and dive in for today.
Okay, great. And Cheryl, thank you for joining us. Hello, neighbor, Menlo Park. We're in San Mateo, California, so also in the Bay Area. Okay, so let's dive in. So the goal of our webinar today is actually getting you to create something. So you're not just, passively receiving, but which is fine, but every minute has to count, especially in startups, and I'm sure really in everyone's life. Anyone who has kids, every minute counts. Um, so the goal here is that you create a voice document, and you can use that voice document to teach a large language model, like Storytell could be a different AI to write in the voice of this document you've created for. And then in terms of our agenda, start with a problem space, go into demo and like really that workshop space where you're creating, and then more of a Q&A as well, just to make sure that we're all interacting and hearing what you have to say. And so yeah, the pain. what is the pain that we're trying to solve for today in this webinar and beyond? And that's around value. We have these large language models, and some people say it's almost like DOS, like when you couldn't just point and click on your laptop and you had to know a special language to interact with your computer. That's almost like prompting. How do I actually reach into the LLM and get what I want out of it? Also, every business, is a software business these days. Everything has an app, but it's also a content business, which everyone on this call, I'm sure you know that pain really intimately. So just like the hunger for content is real, and yet it has to be valuable, right? And it has to be specific. So how can it be authentic? How can it be focused on persona, and how can I scale it? And that's where AI is really incredible in terms of being able to do things at scale. And like, who else is in Zoom meetings all day and you have to do your work after work? It's something we hear a lot. So how can every minute count? I know we have folks here from Coachava, and I think the saying there is try to take everything and make it count 9 times. I might be, maybe it's more or less than that, but how can I take what we're already doing and get maximum value?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead,
I will
Jordio.
be Okay, great. I'll be happy to share a little bit about how Storytell works, and then we're going to jump into a demo. So I did a little drawing for everybody this morning, and let me pull that up, and I will describe that. Erica, it should be true that as I'm doing this, you may be able to see questions coming in, and you
Mhm.
should be able to answer them as they're coming in. So if you have any questions about what I'm sharing, feel free to ask them, and either Erica will answer them while I'm sharing or I will answer them afterwards. And then we'll also have live Q&A after. Okay, so how does Storytell work? Step one is that you upload your messy and unstructured content into Storytell. So this can be things like PDFs, it can be text files, it can be Zoom transcripts, it might be XML files, which, by the way, CSV or Excel XLS files can be converted into XML. We have some instructions on doing that. That one was for you, Nick, who's on this call and asked for that, wanting to work with a lot of CSV files, a lot of data files. It could be MP3 files, audio files. It could be, that's like podcasts. It could be videos. These videos could be Zoom videos. It could be a zip file of all of the above or a mixture of them and more, JSON files, etc. So I think the important thing to understand about getting content into Storytell is it can be kind of like a messy house. You don't have to curate it, just dump it all in, throw it all in. That's kind of the beauty of it, is you can start to load all of your content in without having to think about the structure of it. And we're actually going to show this to you in a minute. Then you can also use our Chrome extension. In our Chrome extension, I will put in the chat here if you want to download it now while we are talking. It's right here. When you download and install our Chrome extension and you open it up on any piece of content that it runs on, let's say like a YouTube video or a web page, a blog, an article, a dense academic paper, an annual report, anything, it will do a couple of things. The first thing is that it will give you a summary in real time. And you can see there's some chicken scratch drawn footnotes here. We call these story tiles. I'll tell you more about these in a minute. But it doesn't just give you a summary of the content. It also puts it into your Storytell platform for you to leverage later. And so that's another way to get content into Storytell is just to open up the Chrome extension, browse the content that you want to work with, and you will have access to it. Okay. Then the next thing that we do is we split this messy content into what we call story tiles. And so what is a story tile? We have a proprietary AI algorithm called Mercury. And what Mercury does is it looks at the concepts that are discussed in this long form, unstructured content, and it breaks them up. Think of each story tile as like a nugget of information. And so, as an example, in this PDF, it's a long PDF. Let's say it's Amazon's annual report. And we create a story tile out of, the first sentence or a couple of sentences, however long that concept is, we'll turn it into a story tile. And then we make another story tile, number 2, out of some of the other content, and another story tile out of number 3, etc. And we do that for the PDF. We do that for the audio files. We take the different concepts that are discussed and we break them into story tiles. We do that for the video files. You can see this is a story about a person that was going on a trip to a big city here. And so we've made 3 different story tiles out of this MP4. We can do it for data, for your XML file. So the idea here is that we're turning your unstructured data into this big structured database. And what we do with that is organize and score each story tile. And my representation of that here is, let's imagine from that PDF, you've got story tile number 1. And we put some metadata on that. So here's the original concept, that little snippet from above. So that little snippet is, let's say, this bit right here from the PDF. And we put some metadata around that. So when did it happen and where did it happen? We make it a summary of it. We use our large language model to summarize that concept. And then we do that for everything that you've uploaded, your MP4. Here's a little snippet of that video. You've got the minute and 37 seconds of the 90-minute Zoom call that you did. It was a sales training call. And before, the kind of smallest atomic unit of that training call was 90 minutes. Now it's, this one story tile for this one concept. And then we score what we call story tile affinity. How alike are all of these different story tiles to each other? So maybe this PDF and this bit of the Zoom meeting are 49% similar. Or this story tile from the Zoom meeting or the YouTube video is 97% similar from this data from the CSV. And you can start to imagine it might have been, let's say, the customer success lead that loaded in a CSV of all your ServiceNow or your Salesforce records. And it might be the salesperson that was on a call in your company with a prospect. And we can see that those 2 things are very similar to each other, even though they happen in completely different departments at completely different times. And so what this allows us to do is then create these dynamic data containers that we call smart chats. And again, we're going to show you all this, and in fact, let you do this yourself. But a smart chat, think of it as a boundary from all of the content. Let's just imagine you've got this big database inside Storytell of all of these story tiles from all this content that you've uploaded, and you say, I want to create a small container of just all the user interactions that have happened at my company. And so we look for all the story tiles that are related to that. And you can either tag it yourself or we can auto label it for you. It's up to you. You can make your own smart chat container. We also do it. And then you can start to chat with it. Why do our users love us? And we'll return the answer back to you as a table or as a paragraph or as a haiku or a poem or a blog post or an executive summary, whatever you ask for. And importantly, we link to the specific story tiles as source material. And so you now can start to leverage all your unstructured content in really exciting ways. Okay, so that is how Storytell works. Erica, is there anything you'd like to add to this comic strip drawing that I've done about Storytell?
Well, I like that you said comic strip here because, Sarah, for instance, you're asking like, oh, are storytells kind of like chapters? And I think that is a great way of thinking of it. And for instance, there's those mosaics that I'm sure we've all seen of art that's made of tons of a photograph made of tons of tiny photos, like a portrait, etc. And that's actually been done with Charles Schulz, the Peanuts cartoonist, and taking all like thousands of comic strips to create a whole drawing. And so it's like you're zooming in to the smallest layer or interface, or it's like nugget essentially of that larger whole.
Yeah, this is what Erica is referring to from the Charles Schulz Museum. You can think of each story tile as one little bit of the comic strip, and here's the Zoom meeting writ large.
And
So I love.
I'll scroll away so you don't lose your breakfast.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so please keep asking questions. Jason, I see you asking some questions about prompting. We're going to get deep into prompting today. Let me just start by sharing there are a lot of use cases for Storytell. If you're a product manager, you can load in all your past customer conversations and you can chat with your customers through Storytell. So imagine making a smart chat container for each customer. You make a bigger container. This is like Tupperware, right? You've got one big container for all your customers, and then you can start chatting with all your customers. What do you love most about our product? What do you love least? And Storytell is returning results. If you have complex knowledge you need to explain in simple terms, you can use Storytell to do that. Explain this to me like I'm five, this dense academic paper. If you are a talent team, you can upload 100 resumes for a job and then upload your job description and ask which candidate is best suited for this job. There's just so much that we can do with Storytell. The specific example that we're going to dive in today is a fictional content manager named Olivia Martinez. Now, Olivia does not really exist. So this is a face of a person that doesn't exist created by AI. Olivia is a fictional persona that we made to tell this story to all of you. But let's imagine that she works at this company that helps humans be more effective together, and she leads a team of 7 content writers, and she needs to produce authentic content at scale for her audience of HR managers. And so what we've done is we have created a smart chat experience for her. And I'm gonna start by going into her smart chat interface. Now, before I do this, you can use Storytell yourself by just going to storytell.ai. If you want to follow along, just go to storytell.ai. I'll put that in chat here. If you want the most recent sexy stuff, you can go to staging.storytell.ai. I'm going to attempt to do a demo today in our staging environment. This is where our newest stuff is. It also is more prone to break. So don't use staging if you need it to definitely work, but we're going to be adventurous here. And you can just scroll down and jump right in. Literally from the front page without being logged in, you can chat for free with the world's knowledge with GPT-4. This costs $20 a month if you do it through OpenAI. You can do it here for free. You can also chat with Claude from Anthropic or GPT 3.5. You can chat with all of them together. So without even uploading any content, you can start to use Storytell right here. You literally just do it right down here. In fact, let's ask the world's knowledge one of the sample questions. Can you provide a brief explanation about quantum physics? All right. So here I am chatting with the world's knowledge, and you can do that yourself. You don't have to be logged in or anything. Now, the power of Storytell is in creating these smart chat environments. So let's move out of this view and into the actual account for Olivia. Now, if you would like to do this yourself, at the top right, there's a sign in button. You can hit sign in. It's going to ask you to log in, or if you don't have an account, you can sign up. You can also just hit login with Google. That will either sign you in or sign you up. So either one. And then you're going to be at a similar place to where I am here, which is in my content manager. Now, if you're trying this yourself, which we would love for you to do, feel free to ask questions if you get confused or anything, if something's not working. Don't be shy about asking questions. Either Erica or I will answer them. I'm just going to give you a really quick tour of what's here. There are two tabs on the left side. One is the content manager, and one here is the smart chat interface. And I'm going to turn this tag off. So I am chatting with all my knowledge here. This is all the knowledge that I've uploaded. Or I can chat with specific knowledge. We can see that I've made a couple of tags, and those tags are based on content that I've uploaded. So this is all my knowledge here. If I want to see, for example, just the knowledge about, let's say, Adidas, I can click that. And now I'm creating a smart chat container that has just this knowledge. I can click on the knowledge to understand what it is. I have an executive summary of the knowledge. I can also permission the knowledge so that only people in my organization can see it, or only I can see it. I'll go back to anyone with the link here. I can also add more tags. Maybe I want to create a different smart chat container with this, and I'll show you that in a couple of minutes. So this is a way to see all my knowledge. There's an upload knowledge button here. I can upload PDFs, text, MP3, MP4, everything that I was sharing earlier. You can just drop it in right here. You can also paste information in here and hit add. So there's a lot of ways to get content into Storytell. But what I want to go back to is actually Olivia's use case here, where she had some incredible raw content from this training program called Clean Communication. And so it just so happens that Erica, in this fictional example, is a subject matter expert on this team dynamics protocol called Clean Communication. And Erica has done all sorts of trainings about that. So I'll show you an example of what one of those looks like. Give me 1 second. This is a link only for logged in users. So I'm going to have to come back to that. Or maybe Erica, if you want to uh, chat me a link for that, I can share that. I'll go to another document here. In this example, Erica has created this document on giving and receiving effective feedback. So here's how to give and receive effective feedback. Here are best practices about giving feedback. Here's how to give feedback in real time. So, let's imagine this is just any kind of unstructured content.
And
And
I
then,
think for
yep,
for context, I have in fact trained in that and train our team in clean communication, but that's a separate topic.
yep. Okay, so what we did here as Olivia is we created a smart chat about that. And so I'm going to open that up here, and I'm going to scroll this to the right. And we can see that this clean communication training group has a number of tags in it. So again, these are like those dynamic data containers. This is a group. This is the larger container that has a number of smaller containers in it, and it has a lot of content. So for example, here is clean communication on giving feedback. This is the PDF of this page that I just showed here. So this page is in Storytell right here. Now I can start to chat with this grouping. So we see here, there's an option to chat with this clean communication grouping. I'm going to click on that. And now I am chatting with all of the clean communication content. And we should be able to see this here. So here is the grouping right here. And as I do this, I can start to ask it questions. Now, the really kind of interesting thing here is I can share this smart chat with all of you. So I'm going to copy this link and I'm going to put it into chat for everyone. And you can smart chat with all of this clean communication content along with me. The first thing that I want to show you is how we have these prompts. We have a question library. And one of the prompts is called define voice. Define voice is a pre-created question that I've made. And if I click on it, it gets it ready for me to send. So let's look at this prompt. And I'm also going to copy this and put it in chat so you can do the same thing if you'd like. Now, one thing for you to know or understand is if you click on this link, which I'm going to do right now, and you open up Storytell without being logged in, you are not going to see the question library. This is you as a non-logged in user. You can chat, but you won't see the question library. And so you would need to log into Storytell in order, and then go back to this link in order to see what I'm seeing here, which is the question library. So I'm going to go ahead and send this, and let's see what Storytell does. Storytell is taking all of the unstructured content and defining the voice of clean communication. It's educational over entertaining. It's formal over informal. It's instructional over storytelling. It's direct over indirect. It's objective over subjective. Now, I might say, gosh, that's really interesting. How is it that Storytell made those choices? And there's two ways for me to get an answer. The first one is I can click on View Sources. And when I do this, it will open up in the third panel. And I'm sorry that's squished. We need to fix this. But it opens up the story tile so we can see that from this piece of content, the active listening framework, which is a piece of raw content, there is a story tile. And that story tile is one concept. So this gets back to what I was sharing before about pulling story tiles. We can see that this table was created from this set of story tiles. This is a clean communication website PDF, Storytell number 4. And this is also Storytell number 4. This is Storytell number 7. Now that's one way to see the underlying source content. There's another way, which is we are rendering this response in Markdown. That makes it pretty. I can get a table, looks good. But if I want to get it actually in line and I want to know this specific sentence, where did this come from? I can hover over the response, and I've got a little tray down here. I can do a couple things in this tray. One is that I can turn it into a footnote, into plain text. And in plain text, it lets me see the footnotes actually in line. So now I can click, oh, Storytell number 8 is the one that I'm interested in. And it should take me right to that Storytell. It doesn't look like we are going right to it, but we need to fix that. But the idea is that we can take you directly to the Storytell that you're looking for. Also, by the way, I'm going to go, we can also download the answer as a PDF. So maybe I want to see the actual answer here and I want to share it with somebody. We can download it as a PDF. So here was the question, basically, create a voice document and the answer. Okay, so let me actually stop and pause there and turn it back to Erica. There's a couple more things that we can do here in terms of asking other questions. And I'm happy to ask any question of this content that you would all like me to ask, or you can ask it yourself by going to that link. But Erica, where would you like to go next?
Well, one, I just want to address a logistical constraint, which is, can folks let us know whether you can actually access any of the chats that Geronimo is dropping into chat? I'm guessing the answer is no, because I just see it saying hosts and panelists. So if that is the case, that you can't see what's in chat, then if you can work with us by asking, what is that prompt? And then we can respond with the prompt, and hopefully y'all can see the responses to each question in the Q&A.
I've got an answer. I've got an answer for you on that, Erica. When you are chatting, you can choose hosts and panelists or everyone. I've been choosing everyone. So hopefully people are seeing the things that I'm dropping in.
Yep. Sarah, Jeff, Nick, see the chat. Great. Okay. Awesome. Making sure that that's working. Yeah. Well, I'm cognizant of the fact that we've got 10 minutes left, and we want to make sure that you can start to use this voice doc, or use this prompt rather, to create a voice doc yourself.
And I'm going to do one last thing here. I'm going to take a well-known concept, the 4 stages of team dynamics, and I'm going to ask Storytell to relate the clean communication content with this content. And I'm going to say, return the answer as an executive summary with the title in bold, as a blog post with each section in bold, and as a table. And so, I've never tried this before. Let's see what happens. So it's going to take the content that you have defined as the smart chat, and it is taking a concept that it knows about from the world's knowledge. And it is saying, here's how clean communication relates to the four stages of team dynamics. And so we can see executive summary, the four stages of team dynamics and effective communication. This content offers valuable insights into effective communication and team dynamics, which can be related to Tuckman's four stages of team development. During the forming stage, the active listening framework. So the active listening framework is from Erica's content. And so it is tying the well-known principle to the specific smart chat content. This is really, really powerful. And we can see here that it did it as an executive summary, it did it as a short blog post, and it did it as a table. And I might be able to say, hey, I want to take this blog post and I want to write a more detailed blog post about it. Write a longer, more detailed blog post about this response. And I'm going to press shift when I press enter, and I'm going to paste in the response that it gave. And so now I'm taking its initial answer and I am asking it to go deeper. And so, Eric, I'll pass this back to you, but I just wanted people to see how we can relate, kind of mash up content in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have been finding that mashups are really powerful. So one, just the creation of a voice document that can be laborious, it can be off base, is powerful on its own. But these intersections of how does what I'm doing relate to something else, and you might think for sure there is a relation, and you might not, but it's often a way to learn and to find connections that might not have been apparent.
Okay. I am going to stop sharing and try to turn on the ability for everyone to ask questions. And let's make sure that we are answering your questions. So I'm going to have to figure out if you have a question or a comment, can you just ask the question in the Q&A, and then I will unmute you so that we can actually talk about your question. And I'll just start with Jason, what you had said. So let's see. Jason, you had said, does Storytell have a custom set of prompts that are an approach to prompting? We do. We have a prompt library that we can share, and we have that question library. And I will pull up the prompt library in a second here and share the link in chat. Okay, who else has a question or would like to try to upload some of your own writing, your own content, and then ask that voice prompt to ask Storytell to make a voice for you or your company?
Yeah, and I think along those lines, you can use our Chrome extension to, on a website, say a website of someone you were writing for, creating content for, in order to get their content into Storytell, and then determine from what you've uploaded using the prompt we put in chat, what their voice actually is. So, and then you can use it from there. So did you, I think Drodio, you were showing writing content in the voice of, did we get to, I'm ready to write in the voice?
I am happy to do that. So I'm going to go back to Olivia here, and let me share my screen again. Share screen. Okay, so let's imagine that we have a document that defines Erica's voice. Erica is the expert here on clean communication. And Olivia, as the content writer, wants to take a lot of her trainings, a lot of her raw content, and write some content in Erica's voice. And so the first thing that we can do is we can say download, and we're just going to download this as a PDF. And I'm going to go back to my Storytell account. So 1 second here. So here I am as Olivia. I'm going to go to my knowledge. And now I'm going to, let me upload this content. So I'm going to, 1 second here, upload knowledge. And now I'm going to grab the PDF here that says Erica Anderson's voice, and I'm going to upload this into Storytell. So now I'm defining a document with Erica's voice. And this might be one document, it might be, 10 documents. I can add a tag and I can call it Erica's voice document. And by the way, there's actually two ways to do this. This is the first way. I'll also show the second way in a second. So just to make sure that we're tracking here, the first thing that we did was we uploaded a lot of content and we asked Storytell to define the voice. And now that we've done that, we are uploading this voice document and we're going to use it in Storytell. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this while it's uploading here. Okay, the upload's complete. Now I'm going to go into the content manager and I'm going to go back and grab this clean communication training tag. So this is all the content that's defined as clean communication. And I'm going to also look for Erica's voice. Let's see. Let's find Erica's voice here. Let me just hit refresh and see if I can do this. This will be the first time that we've tried this. Okay, I might not be able to do it in this example. I apologize. What I'm trying to do here isn't quite going to work, but I'll show you what will work, and then I'll show you a different way to do this. So I'm actually going to take all of Erica's voice content. So let me go grab just Erica's voice here, and I'm going to copy this here. And now I'm going to go back into the Storytell platform, and I'm going to say Erica's voice is defined as follows. And then I'm going to paste in, Shift Enter. You will write in Erica's voice. Respond with, I am ready to write in Erica's voice. You will write all the following content, all the following answers in Erica's voice. And so let's see what it does. I am ready to write in Erica's voice. Great. So now we have trained Storytell to answer in Erica's voice. How would you describe the ethos of clean communication as Erica? And let's see what it says. And Erica, we'll see if you agree with this. This is your communication framework.
Mm-hmm.
While we're doing this, if anybody has questions, let's see.
Cheryl has a great question here. I'm so yeah, just
okay, great. Yep. So Cheryl, let's actually unmute you so we can chat about this and we'll share your question. You can upload multiple voice. Can you upload multiple voices and use multiple voices in one document? So I'm going to try to unmute you here. Let me just do that really quickly so that we can have a conversation with you. So Cheryl, okay. Cheryl, you're on mute, but you can unmute and chat. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. This question is about, let's say you want to create a document where you have a corporate representative and a customer, potential customer. So you have two voices going on in the same document. The corporate speaker is saying X, and the customer is speaking in a different voice, perhaps more casual, and the corporate is formal, or the reverse. So can you include multiple styles of voices within a single context?
Yes. So you can, and I'm actually doing it right now. You can
Super.
see that I'm in the smart chat panel here, and we have now, we're just going to switch to an Adidas example. So let me just give you some context here. We created a bunch of content for different brands. So let's imagine that for Adidas, we have a bunch of content. And I'm just going to show that to you in the content manager quickly. So we can see brand voice Adidas. Let me close these. So this is Adidas, and this was probably from a YouTube video or a website or something like that. So this is the Adidas Smart Chat tag right here. And then we have Fenty, for example, and that's some content here. So we've basically created these different pieces of content, these different tags. Now I'm going to go into the content manager, and I'm going to choose which ones I want to talk to. So I want to talk to brand voice Adidas and brand voice Fenty. So I have basically two containers, two smart chat containers that I've said I want to talk to together. And the first thing that I'll do is I'll say, what's the difference between brand voice Adidas, I think we spelled Adidas wrong, and brand voice Fenty. So first, let me see if smart chat does understand the difference between these two brand voices. So it's saying brand voice, this is brand voice is energetic, motivational, honest, experienced, customer centric, etc. Fenty's brand voice is empowering, radiant, transparent, etc. So it does look like, I mean, I haven't looked at the underlying content, but it should be true that Storytell can absolutely understand the difference. And so now what I could do, and I don't think I have it in this account, but let's just take a look here. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could basically add in another piece of content. Let me just see if I've got consumer behavior. Let's say that I want to chat with these two brand voices and this document. And so now I'll say describe consumer behavior in separately in Adidas's brand voice and then in Fenty's brand voice. And I'll say output as a blog post, as two blog posts, separate blog posts, and two separate poems, just for fun. Okay, so let's see what happens. And while we're doing this, Cheryl, does this answer your question?
Yes, yes, it does.
Any thoughts or observations about this?
It's quite useful in its functional context. It can be worrisome in the larger ethical contextual framework.
Yeah, there's a lot to think through around ethical AI. I don't know, Erica, if you want to speak to that for a minute here. And then also I'm happy to wrap up for us because I know we're a bit over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was actually just attending a conference on AI, and it's a Wisdom 2.0 conference on AI. So looking at consciousness and AI, and Tristan Harris from the Center for Humane Technology spoke. And Cheryl, this may interest you. I'm going to try to pull it up here. That the Center for Humane Technology has a free online course called the Foundations in Technology course, and just like how some basics of how to bring ethics, whether it's to AI or much larger than that. So that's something we're really actively interested in ourselves as well.
Is that the foundation that's located in San Francisco?
I believe so. Yeah, you might have heard
it. I'm familiar with it. That's great that you're involved.
Yeah.
Okay, so because we're over time, just a few last housekeeping things. The first is we are going to do weekly webinars, and we're going to do them for all sorts of different personas. Also, Eric and I are happy to stay on longer. So if anybody wants to stay on and ask more questions, we're happy to stay on as long as you'd like. If you would like to register or share this with product managers in your company, I will copy this link and you can take a picture of it on your phone, or you can just go here. So I've put that in chat. Feel free to encourage any product managers that would like to use Storytell for becoming a more effective product manager. And we'll also have future webinars for sales and RevOps teams, customer success teams, and many others. And then lastly, we would love to learn more about your use case and schedule office hours with you. And so if you are interested in diving into how you would like to use Storytell specifically, happy to schedule office hours. I'm going to put that link as well into the chat here in a second. Who else has questions? Or Eric, I guess to just finish up here, is there anything else you'd like to cover before we just do open Q&A?
I think, what our intention here was to be as valuable as possible and help you, do your work and accomplish what you want and, have successful clients and everything. And I think just around that, why did we focus on voice? It's like, if you don't know who is telling the story, then you really don't know what the story is. And so it absolutely shapes things, as I'm sure you all know, as writers, as people who create content. So what would be really incredible for us is knowing how you use this in the world. Are you, do you use the voice prompt? What do you get out of it? And so forth. If you're actually, sharing like, hey, this is how this worked for me or didn't work for me. We're not effusive in praise for our own product. We're just watching the magic of what's possible with AI and want to make sure that everyone has access to that.
Okay, let's look and see. So I guess thank you everybody for joining our very first webinar. Just really exciting to have everybody here and building for you. It looks like, so there are a few more questions. Erica, maybe we just stay on for as long as anybody would like. Nick, you had a question here. How do you summarize a video, perhaps one on YouTube? Let's unmute you, Nick, so that we can chat with you. So let me do that here. All right, so Nick, you should, if you unmute your mic, and in fact, I'm just going to unmute anybody who's still here, and we can all chat together. So let me do that for a second.
Nice work.
Great.
Super impressive.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So you were wondering about videos, and why don't I show you how to use Storytell with the Chrome extension and do exactly that. So I think I've made it so that anybody who wants to chat now can. If you have any questions as we're doing this, feel free to just dive in. Nick, let's start with, I've talked to you a couple times, and I know that you are in the heavy equipment construction industry, or at least that's been your background. And so let's just look up, I'm going to start sharing again in a second here, but I'm just going to look up, YouTube for heavy equipment rental. And in fact, I'll do this from Olivia's account here as what? You know what? I'm going to do it from mine from extension.
Freelance web design freaking you out. It's freaking me out too. Until I discovered double engine marketing.
Hold on, Nick, let's mute you so that we're not
almost 100% of my leads.
We're not all listening
to referrals, friends and family, past clients.
I apologize. That was
playing
an ad.
No problem.
I was trying to summarize a video. Sorry.
Yeah. So I'm just going to grab, some random YouTube video. I'm going to look for one that's maybe a little bit longer, which I may or may not be able to find. But, let's just pick this one, how to start an equipment rental business.
Berlin has so much to offer.
Here is the video. And what I can do is I can open up the Chrome extension on the right side. And so just for anybody who's never used the Chrome extension, if you just installed it, the first thing that I recommend that you do is you pin it so that it shows up here. And the way you pin it is you click on the little puzzle piece and you go down to the Chrome extension, the Storytell, and you just hit the little blue pin. So now it'll always be showing up here. And you can close it or open it like this. So this is how you close and open the Chrome extension. If you close it and you see this little tab, it's not running. So that means that the Chrome extension is off. And when you open it, it means that it's on and it's running. So right now, Storytell is taking this YouTube video and converting it into Storytells. So the first thing is that you can actually chat with it here. There's a prompt library here. You can ask questions here. There's a lot that you can do right from the Chrome extension. So here is the summary, how to start an equipment rental business. You can see that it gives you key concepts, and there are actual links here to the story tiles, so you understand where in the video it's coming from. But the power is when you go into your dashboard, and I'm going to do that in a second. But Nick, before I do that, any questions about the Chrome extension itself?
No, that's super helpful. Thank you. Obvious.
Okay.
You show it to me. Apologize.
No, don't apologize. We're here for all of you, so no need to apologize. We're also so early in building the platform that it makes a lot of sense to those of us that are in it every day. And if you're not in it every day, it's pretty confusing. So we actually want to learn from you. Okay, so now I'm going to go into my platform, and I can see here that I've got a piece of content called How to Start an Equipment Rental Business. And I have my default set to only in my org, but I can actually make it anyone with the link. And so now I can either chat with this one piece of content, or I can add more content to a tag, and I can chat with all of it. So I might make a tag here, which, let's say create new tag, and we'll call this heavy equipment rental best practices, whatever you want to call it. Done. And so now I've tagged this. You can see my tag is a different color than the tags that are created by Storytell. So these are all different smart chat containers. And let's say that I want to chat with this content. So I'm going to now go over to my smart chat container. Oh, that is a bug in staging. All right. Let me go back here and just try it again. I might need to log back in 1 second. Okay, dashboard. And I'm going to say heavy equipment. So here is the heavy equipment rental best practices tag. Now, by the way, I can share this with you too. Anybody can chat with this because I made the underlying content accessible to anyone with the link. So if you want to chat with this content, you can do it right here. And I'll just do one thing. I'll say, what is this about? And there's one thing that I want to show you, which is the concept of visual story tiles. So this content is a guide on how to start a heavy equipment rental business. And so it gives us everything from the video. But if I say view sources, or again, if I click on the little T here to go into plain text where I can see the footnotes in line, if I click on these footnotes, I can actually get what we call a visual story tile. So this is story tile number 2 from this content. And if I hit play, it's actually going to play right at the spot where it's talking about this concept. Does that make sense, Nick?
It does. That's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool, right? Yeah.
I mean, that just saves a boatload of time.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. So, and now you can start to interact with this content yourself. So did that answer your question?
It did. Thank you both.
Great. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Who else has questions? And you should just be able to unmute yourself. Or we'd also love to hear about any thoughts, opinions, observations. It doesn't just have to be questions. If you think this is great or not great or whatever it is, we just really want to listen.
So Drodio, Yusuf brought something really interesting, which is, okay, if I have a question that goes beyond the data, this tag, is it going to answer anyway? And I think just to add on, Yusuf, to what you're bringing, like, is it going to hallucinate? Is it just going to be eager to please and make things up, or just pull from all the data it's been trained on? So maybe you can just show us what happens.
Okay, I'm going to ask, what color are bananas? Now, I'm making a bet here that a video about heavy equipment rental does not talk about bananas. So this should be outside the scope of this smart chat container. We'll see if there's something about bananas in here. Not mentioned in the context provided. So we do a lot of work to make sure that the smart chat container is defining the boundaries of what is being discussed. I will, however, share something with you, which is that we also have the ability for you to chat with the world's knowledge. So think of this as a funnel from the broadest to the most specific, right? I've got the world's knowledge at the top. Then I've got all my knowledge. Or by the way, if I'm part of a company, I can see all my company's knowledge here. Then I've got my groups and my tags, and then I've got the specific knowledge. So this is the most specific. This is the broadest. So if I take out heavy here, now I say, I want to chat with the world's knowledge. And now I'm back to this view that was the same that we showed you at the beginning, where I can say, I want to ask GPT-4 what color are bananas? And I imagine we will get an answer there. And Yusuf, feel free to unmute yourself if that answers your question. If it doesn't, any additional questions?
Yeah, it does answer it. I have a follow-up question, which is, are you able to use both? Like, you're going to use the world's knowledge that's supplemented with all my knowledge, and if so, like, how does it work? Like, does it first check your knowledge and then supplement? You know what I mean?
Yeah, great question. So, not today, but so it's kind of a qualified answer. We absolutely could do that, right? Like I just clicked on United States forming documents. This is the US Constitution and the US Declaration of Independence that we uploaded as an example. And it would be easy for us to make it so that you could click this, world's knowledge, and click this and have them both show up at the same time. We used to have Storytell be that way, and people got confused because they thought that Storytell was going beyond their content. So we actually firewalled it off so that they're different. But it would be really great to talk more about that because we think that'd be pretty cool to be able to kind of like layer in the world's knowledge into your documents. Now, if you specifically ask it, like before you remember, we said attach the 4 stages of team dynamics development to clean communication. If you remember, I might be able to pull that answer back up here. Let me see if I can. This is the Adidas one. If I can't get it quickly, then I won't. Let's see, clean communication. Let's see if we can find that conversation. If you specifically call it out, I think this is it here. Clean communication training. Right here. So we specifically called out, relate this content, which was this tag for clean communication training, to the 4 stages of team dynamics. And you can see that in the answer, it talked about Tuckman's 4 stages of team development. Well, that's not in this tag. And so we specifically asked it to go outside of the tag to do a mashup. And so you can do that today. So I'll stop there, and would be great to talk to you more about layering them in even more and how you'd like that to work. If you want to book office hours with me, I'd love to talk through that use case with you more. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. And I'm just going to paraphrase the answer really quickly. So the default is that it'll limit itself to your knowledge. And then, but you can, in the prompt, ask it to go outside, which in this instance did because it looked up.
Yeah.
It referenced questions.
That's exactly right. And let me do it here. So we asked it about bananas, and it didn't say, but it knows what bananas are. Let's say write a poem or write a haiku that relates this content to a banana, right? And so I'm guessing, going to know what a banana is, right? It knows what it is, right? Because we're going outside. We're specifically telling it to go outside of this content.
Got it. That's great.
Awesome. Okay, what other questions do we have? Thank you, Cheryl. Can just give it another minute here. See a couple people that are still here. Any last questions?
Okay. And I want to speak to one thing, which Sarah, I really love what you're bringing around. Okay, is there a certification? So Storytell like going to certify folks? And so we got into like, what would that look like? Like, oh, there's modules that train you on how to use Storytell for content production, and then you could train others, and could be part of your LinkedIn profile. So very, very interesting for us. And I think, Jody, you can speak to what exists now around this.
Yeah, we do have our very first Storytell certified content engineer named Vin. Vin is actually on the call here. Vin, you've been using Storytell for your site, Amplify Thought. Can you maybe share for a minute your use case about what you do and maybe how you work with Adam as an example? I think that's a really great example. We'll see if Vin is able to unmute. If not, I'm happy to do it for Vin. So we'll give you a second here. But Vin has clients that that are basically on Zoom all day, and they're advisors, or they're investors, VCs, or sales leaders, etc. And what Vin does is he has his clients send him all their Zoom recordings. So he's set it up so that each Zoom recording automatically goes to Vin, and then Vin is able to take that, turn it into these different smart tags, and then create more versions of this content and send it back to his clients, and then they post it on LinkedIn, or one of them is writing a book, and he's the client is writing the book just based on being on Zoom calls all day, which is pretty awesome. And so Vin's site is called amplifythought.com. And so Vin is basically partnering with Storytell as a content engineer to take the output and turn it into the things that his clients want. And Vin, if you hear this or see this later, you can let me know if I got that right. And Sarah, it would be great to know if that answers your question, and also what you would like to do, because we would love to create a more formal certification program and work with you to do that. Okay. Any last questions from anybody?
Daniel, I'm sorry to, I meant to mention earlier.
Nick,
Thank
go.
No, thanks for doing the, I don't know how you folks did it, but it's amazing. The CSV query mechanism.
Yes.
Is it appropriate to share, just do a quick demo of how to do it?
Yes, absolutely.
And also how to do it with like secure data.
Yes.
And I don't want to keep the group longer than necessary.
No, that's okay. I think, why don't we plan on just going into this mode? If anybody's excited or interested about using Storytell with CSVs, just stay on. And so let me start, Nick, by sharing what we like our knowledge base post about why it's hard for large language models to work with CSVs. So let's start by talking about the problem. And the problem is that, let's imagine that you have an Excel file or a CSV, comma separated value file, and it has a couple columns, so name, sex, age, height, and weight. And we can see here as humans, okay, this makes a lot of sense. Jake is male, 32, 69 inches tall, and weighs 143 pounds. The problem is that for a large language model, and especially the way that Storytell works by breaking content up into story tiles, we look at the adjacent content, which works great when you're talking, right? So if I go back to this and I look at an audio file, we can break this into one concept, we can break this into one concept, or if it's a PDF, the adjacent works really well to break it up into different concepts. But in a large language model, 143 is next to 175 and next to 69. Like, it doesn't mean anything, right? And so we need to structure the data differently to enable a large language model like Storytell to work with it. Now, soon we'll be building this in to make it automatic. But today, what you can do is you can convert your CSV into an XML file. And XML is a more structured language. And there are a number of third-party sites. We recommend Zamzar, which is you just upload the file, you convert it to XML like this. And then this same document up here, which looks like this, now looks like this. We can see that we have a record, and the first row has the different columns, and they're named A, B, C, D, E. So this is telling the large language model that column E is weight. Then we have a record that says that Jake is 143 pounds. And so this gives structure. The name is A, Jake is A, the weight is E is 143. And so what this allows, and I actually have linked to the actual smart chat where anybody can try this. But when we ask a question, who weighs 143 pounds, the person who weighs 143 pounds is Jake. It does a really good job of answering. So that's the first piece in terms of being able to structure the data. And now we can talk about synthetic data, but let me just see if you have any questions about that first. Does all that make sense? And I'll put this into the chat here. so that anyone can get to this.
That definitely makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. And I will also link to this smart chat so that if anybody wants to ask questions of it, you can also do that. So there's the smart chat link. Okay, so now let's talk about synthetic data. And Nick, I'm going to try something that I haven't tried before. We're going to do this together for the first time. First, let me go back into my Storytell account, and I'm going to go to my knowledge, and I'm going to look for bio. I think it was called, let's see here if I can find it. 1 second, I have to get out of this tag. It's going to take me 1 second to do this. I'm in all my knowledge, and I'm looking for bio. Oh, shoot. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I did it in another account. I'm just going to check quickly here by going to my knowledge.
And hey, Drodio, as we're figuring out webinars, are you able to be on video? I don't know if everyone is still seeing me as I'm just watching you. Yeah.
To be on video. Okay, well, we can try this together again. So let me go back to Storytell. Let me upload. I'm going to upload the XML file that I have here. So this is the file that I made from this CSV. So this is the actual example. I'm going to upload it into Storytell. Now, this is with real data. Nick, you were asking about if you have sensitive data in the CSV. I believe that's the next part of your question. Is that right?
Yep, it is.
So you can see here that we have an option that says upload your sparkle.ai zip. So what is sparkle.ai? Well, let's go to sparkle.ai. Sparkle is an open source project that we created that allows you to anonymize your data. Now, what's interesting here is that right now Sparkle only works with text files and PDFs, and this is an XML file. So we can see that it says that it's not going to be able to anonymize or create synthetic data from this. But I do have a way to do this. Before I show the way to do this, I just want to make sure that what Sparkle does is clear, which is that it takes actual data and it swaps it out for synthetic data. And we have a KB post about this that I'll drop into chat for anybody that wants to understand it more deeply. And I'm not going to go into deep detail here, but I do want to show what we do, which is that we swap out synthetic data. So actual data with synthetic data. So instead of Jenny, now the person is called, it's actually not here. So that example doesn't quite show what we turned Jenny into, but we can see like this number got turned into a different phone number. Let me see if I think this example actually is showing so we actually need to do a little bit of work here. This isn't showing the swap, but that's okay.
Well, so Jenny was whitelisted. So that was
that's
going
why.
to take. Mm-hmm.
Got it. I see. So we didn't actually swap Jenny. Thank you for that, Erica.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just showing how you can whitelist, or which I think is more the new language is block and allow list. So that was on the allow.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do, Nick, is I'm going to take this XML and I'm going to turn it into a text file. So, there's a couple steps here, and we're going to have to work on making this easier, but it is possible. I believe it's going to be possible. Let's try it. This is going to be my first time trying it as well. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the XML file, and I'm just going to open it up in a text editor. It kind of doesn't matter what you use. I like something called Sublime. You could use Notepad. And I'm going to rename this. So I'm going to say file, save as, and I'm going to call it biostats.txt. So let's go ahead and do that. So now I've made it into a text file. It just removes some of the pretty colors, but it's still the same format. Now I should be able to sanitize it. So now let's look, biostats.txt is here. I'm going to sanitize it, and I'm going to say clean your files. And I might say never sanitize. This is what Erica was talking about. Let me just go back to it and let's just take a look. I might say, I never want to sanitize Jake. I always want to keep that there. So I'm going to say Jake. And I always want to sanitize, let's say, weight. So it might not be considered PII, but it might be some keywords. And I think, Nick, from what I know about your use case, this might be really important to you. You might want to say, it's not PII, but it is a sensitive piece of data. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. So now I'm going to say sanitize my files. And now I can download the sanitized file directory. And let's just take a look at it together. I'm curious to see what it looks like. Sanitized files. I'm going to unzip this zip. And we can see that there's a dictionary where it sanitized these names. Sanitized names. And then I've got the sanitized content here. So we can see here. And it doesn't actually look like it did it quite correctly because we still have Dave and Ellie and Carl. Yeah, so Nick, this is why this says coming soon on the front page of the Storytell website, because we don't quite have it dialed. So I think you would, yep. Now, so we have some work to do there. So just be kind of cognizant of what the sanitized text looks like. But the thing for you to know, the way that we're building this into Storytell is that I can actually upload this Sparkle zip. So this sanitizedfiles.zip, I can upload it. And the way that we're building this into Storytell over time is that it will send the sanitized data to any large language model, but it will return back to you as the human the actual result. So we're using that dictionary. So you see your actual data, but the large language models that are processing it see the sanitized data. Does that make sense? It's kind of like a two-way where we're sanitizing and then unsanitizing it for you to look at as you're chatting. So it makes sense.
That's great.
Yep. So we've got some work to do there, and I'm sorry that it's not quite ready for production. But you're welcome to play around with it. We'd love to hear more about what does and doesn't work for you around that.
I mean, what I can upload like my version of a sanitized, just a few records and do what you did. And that
we can do that. Yeah.
So it's the sanitization process that may or may not work right now.
Right. Well, it looks like, I mean, we've basically put a little bit of work into the sanitized data to see if it's valuable for the world. So this is really helpful for us to understand, because we understand this is very important to you. You're working with very sensitive data. I guess maybe there's a larger answer here as well, which is one way to handle sensitive data is to make sure that you're sanitizing it. But another way, let me just share my screen again, is to make sure that the privacy that you have around that data, so let me share my screen here, is just me, right? So you can change this from anyone with the link to just me. And when it's just me, it's not necessarily sanitized data. Let me go to the original one here. So I'm going to make this just me. And by the way, when you say it's just me, all future data will also be uploaded with that default. So now you're the only one that can see this in your account. Now we're still working with it. So the data is still being processed, but the large language models, like let's say GPT-4, if we use that to process this, that model is not being trained on this data. We have an enterprise license. So any data that we pass to GPT-4 to like format the result, the model's not being trained with that. So you have to decide the level of safety and security that you need. But this is what I would recommend, is that you make it just me, and that you know that a model is not being trained on this data, if that helps.
Sure. Super impressive. Thank you.
You bet. Really excited to see what you do with this, and especially the CSV to XML works phenomenally well. So that part, would love to get if you bang on it for a bit and try turning CSVs into XMLs, that should work really well. And I'd love to hear back from you about whether it does.
Yeah, I think you solved it. That's pretty much
Yusuf, Francie, anything you have questions about that we can help with?
Just perusing your website, trying to look for pricing to users.
Yes. Well, Yusuf, so we don't have, go ahead, Erica.
So here's the thing on my settings, all my chats only go to hosts and panelists, so I can't actually drop things to everyone. So I'd love to be able to put the privacy just in chat.
And by the way, Erica, if you open up your webinar chat, right above where you're typing, it says to everyone or to hosts and panelists.
Well, not for me.
Not for you. Okay,
that's what I'm communicating. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. So is there something that you would like me, Erica, to post in chat?
Yeah, I don't know if you see any of my chats to you as the host and panelist.
Got it. Okay, great. So
if you can just repost. Yeah. So Yusuf, hopefully that is a starting point, but we can also discuss right now.
Did you mention privacy or pricing, Yusuf?
But thank you about the privacy thing.
Oh, okay. Misheard you. Sorry about that.
So we have not defined pricing yet. Storytell is free. And it's free because we want to learn from users and learn what the value is. We are a very young company. We're just at the very beginning. We literally just turned 1 year old yesterday. And so we would love to learn from you about what's valuable. We will be figuring pricing out over the coming months. But please just use it, try it. Let us know what works, what doesn't. We're here to build for you. And it would be great actually to learn a bit more about you in your use case, anything that you'd like to share.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. I said office hours with you, so I can tell you a little bit more about the use cases in my mind.
Great. Looking forward.
General, free is my favorite pricing. So,
yeah, good. Take advantage of it. Yep. Great. And Vin said, hey, all listening while I'm traveling, happy to chat here or after the call. So if anybody wants to learn more about Amplify Thought, you should be able to submit on that page and you can have a more detailed conversation with Vin about how he uses Storytell. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for joining us. Super exciting. We'll share the recording and the smart chat, of course, and more to come.
Great. And Eric, I just learned how to make co-hosts, by the way, so you should be able to chat with everybody now. Sorry about that. And Yusuf, I think you were going to say something there. Sorry about that.
Oh, I was just saying, thanks. This is great.
Absolutely. Thank you. Great to meet everybody, and we're looking forward to building for you.
Yeah. Bye, y'all.
Thanks again, Erica, Daniel.
Thank you, Nick.
Take care. We'll see you sometime soon. Thanks a lot.
That was great. Come on by anytime. Come to the West Coast.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Wish you a great rest.